Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's talk about what is happening to NVIDIA stock, what we can expect moving forward for the last day of the month and the week and into September and all that good stuff. So as per usual, if you enjoy the video, do not forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. That link is down below in the description of the video. If you're interested, definitely check it out, right? Just for $2.99 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, post updates on Tesla and sometimes other stocks as well, every single day for just $2.99 a month. If you want to upgrade to the $4.99 a month, you get all that plus daily updates on NVIDIA stock as well. If you're interested, link is below in the description of the video. But jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day down a pretty substantial 6.38% on the day, which is going to be closing at $117.59 per share. Obviously, a little bit of an underperformance compared to the market, obviously off of the back end of earnings yesterday. Earnings honestly weren't bad. Honestly, the earnings were not bad, pretty decent, honestly. But it wasn't as good as maybe the street wanted it. Maybe there was some delays to Blackwell and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, again, this is why I say, and this is why I told my members, I expect earnings to be good. And I said this, I actually expect earnings to be good. And it was good. But we did run up into this earnings, right? This is why sometimes it's an issue where it's not just a matter of like, oh, earnings beat equals stock go up, earnings bad equals stock go down. No, earnings good, stock went down. Why? We ran up substantially into the earnings, right? Remember how Tesla, if people that trade Tesla here, remember this earnings down here, not a great earnings. It was a miss. It was a straight up miss. It was really not that amazing. Maybe it wasn't as bad as people thought it would be, but it definitely wasn't a beat. But the stock rallied substantially. Why? It sold off substantially into that earnings. You have to take these factors into consideration as well. It's not just a simple beat equals up and not beat equals down. It's not that always that simple. Anyway, so NVIDIA, what do we make of this? Well, let's go to the 1 hour chart quickly, right? NVIDIA, massive gap down. It actually reversed a lot of that this morning, pretty much right up to $124 per share. But this is why I talked about this 123/130 level, right? 130 break, same thing would happen in the reverse, but unfortunately we lost the 123 gap down, right, off the earnings. And then we came up on the first hour, retested that 123-ish range, and we rejected. Plain and simple, we rejected off of that earnings, right? Off of that breakdown, off $123 per share. And we just continued following through, right? This is what I told my members. If we, do not recapture, and I pretty much said this, I think, as it was happening. Let me go ahead and scroll down here really quickly. I believe it was right here. Yeah, so you can see the screenshot. NVIDIA recovering most of the earnings losses will be key today to see if it can re-enter that 123 to 130 range or if it gets rejected. And then later on, I mentioned how, if we do get rejected, we come down to 117 to 120. And that's exactly where we're at as of literally right now. So yeah, that's kind of how, what's happening. So we're pretty much in this massive area of demand, in theory at least, right? Massive area of demand. If we lose 117, pretty much, we'll say 117, 116 and a half, roughly. I think NVIDIA is most likely going well below that and probably making its way down to about $110 per share to as low as $105 per share, unfortunately, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But NVIDIA, the fact that it's not, it couldn't get back above this clearly signals a bit of a trend shift, right? And this, I'll be surprised if this trend shift is just literally just this and we just bounce from here and everything is good to go. Like, I'd be pretty surprised. I would expect NVIDIA to ultimately continue this move downwards. Doesn't have to be tomorrow, doesn't have to be right away. Maybe we get a little bit of a bounce. That is a possibility, but ultimately I do expect at least one more leg down, probably closer to 110. I at least as of right now. Obviously, a more further confirmation of that would absolutely be a loss of about 117 and starting to close like 1 hour candles below that, etc. But that's kind of that level that you want to be eyeballing pretty aggressively, and closely, in my opinion. Now, the daily chart for NVIDIA obviously is starting to look less appealing, right? I mentioned before how it was looking phenomenal as we were rallying, and it was. But we were talking about how as we were consolidating here, right? We were talking about how there were starting to show some signs of cracks, right? There was some bearishness starting to seep in. We talked about that in my previous NVIDIA video, right? We mentioned that. What were those cracks? Well, the BX trender started making lower highs, well below now. Like, it's definitely a lower high today, but the red band started to seep in, right? We of course had the daily stochastic cross bearish, right? We had these things finally start to re-enter. We had this kind of bearishness slowly, almost like the bear is like peeking its eyes out of the cave. It's kind of sniffing that blood, if you will, right, from its cave. It's getting ready to pounce. It wasn't there yet. It wasn't pouncing yet, but it was getting ready, right? We can probably make the argument that the bears have officially started to pounce. And we still have that, bearish crossover. It's still pointing straight down like a waterfall. And it's not really showing any signs of, curling, let alone crossing back over to the bullish side. So MACD's getting close to flipping bearish, right? Definitely making lower highs as well. So our size below the average now too. So, there are signs that are not super duper ideal, right? They are not looking too hot. But, that's just kind of, it is what it is, right? This is, in my opinion, a bit of a trend change or trend shift. So we'll see. Again, the main thing I'll be looking at for NVIDIA, really just losing 117 should pretty much go down to about 110 to 105. It is what it is, right? That's probably what's going to happen. At that point, I think this stochastic on the daily will most likely get low enough to finally look for an opportunity to start curling, if not a crossover. And from there, we can see, especially considering, like I said on the Tesla video, QQQ, not the biggest fan of the way it looks. It had a false breakout over the supply zone, turned it into support for a little bit, then cracked well below it. And the past 2 days, it has turned this area into resistance. And I can't imagine this not showing some form of follow through moving into September. Also, BX trend are showing lower lows on the daily chart. RSI and RSI, RSI is not looking great, but stochastic also bearish on the stochastic, right, for the QQQ. So, the market's not looking ideal, right? The market looks like it wants to correct. Now, I'll be surprised if it just casually corrects all the way down instantly and, makes it so simple. There'll probably be some bounces in between, maybe even tomorrow, right? Those will still happen, right? It'll still be as confusing as possible. But the trend still doesn't look too hot, in my opinion, for the bulls. It doesn't look that great for QQQ, nor does it look that great for SPY. Also bearish crossover, NVIDIA bearish crossover, Tesla has bearish crossovers. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, right? We'll see if it, if NVIDIA definitely loses 117 or not. And yeah, that's just the way I'm looking at it, right? NVIDIA also did have the most, or one of the most bearish flows today once again for 34 million. So yeah, not looking too hot. I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking too hot. Could see some bounce potential from this 117 level. I'm not saying we can't. I'm not saying, again, people misconstrue things. People usually think, if I say 110, can be in reach, people assume it has to happen tomorrow. No, it can happen tomorrow. It can happen Monday, maybe next week, Friday. I have no idea when it can happen. But the trend to me right now, unfortunately, doesn't look as hot as it did before when we were during this run up. We mentioned that, trend change starting to seep in during this sideways action. And unfortunately, the earnings definitely confirmed it. And yeah, it's not looking too hot, right? It's not looking too hot. Any dead cat bounces here, in my opinion, are just opportunities to short or really sell any positions. Just my opinion, not financial advice. Could be completely wrong. Maybe NVIDIA goes to 140 tomorrow. Who knows? But not looking too hot. But all in all, that's all I got for this video. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.